Well, alright, welcome back to the layout. This is Dan here as usual, and as you can see, I have two Athearn RTR boxcars, and these are Evans double door models, I think, relatively modern cars decorated for Wisconsin Central, and they're exactly identical. I'll go ahead and explain it to you why I have two identical models, because you're probably wondering why. And to go ahead and start, as you can see, they're models with the HBAK tag with Pepe Le Pew. And if you recall, I originally did one of these HBAK tags. It was actually my first HBAK car that I did with the tag on it of his. And I originally did that on an Acurail hopper, if you recall. I showed it in a layout update. I think the one with the update about the ballast cars that I had gotten at that point. It's not too far down there. I think it's the one with the Diffco dump cars and the ballast cars that I did, and it's right at the beginning. I showed it with the new Giraffe car that I did too. But anyways, if you remember that car, if you recall, it didn't really look that great. I mean, it looked alright, but it wasn't the best. What I ended up deciding to do was, well, I probably shouldn't say that just yet, but what ended up happening was that, I had it rolling around on my model road for a while. I kind of got tired of it. I was tired of looking at it, thinking, it could have been better. I mean, it looked good, but it could have been improved. So I didn't really want to have to go through all that hassle again to make a new one. So I just ended up turning around and selling it. I put it on eBay, and I ended up being surprised by the amount of feedback I got on that car. All these people started asking me, if I could make duplicates for them, or if I could make them a special offer on the car, which would result in me taking the car off eBay and doing a private sale. But at this point in time, it was like 2 days into the auction, it was already up to like $56, so I couldn't really just turn around and do that and rip those other people off. So I just had to let things go like they were, kind of, instead of taking things out of motion, just letting the sale end. So what I ended up doing was I decided to make special offers for those other people that were asking me for duplicate cars or special offers on the original. And in the end, there were 5 guys that actually asked me for this car. And in the end, only one was actually willing to pay. So it's kind of funny. But anyways, I didn't really want to do the tag on the hopper originally, because the hopper was inaccurate anyways. The real tag's on a boxcar, but just because I only did it because the Acurail hopper was all I had on hand at that point. But anyways, so after a little conversation with the client, we went ahead and proceeded, and I was gonna buy him originally CEP rail boxcar, but what ended up transpiring was an interesting occurrence. I was on eBay one of these times, and one of my favorite sellers on eBay, I won't mention his name or anything, but this guy on eBay sells these mass quantities of like Athearn and Atlas and Walthers train cars for like really, really good prices. And he was selling a whole bunch of these Wisconsin Central boxcars from Athearn and Atlas too. And I jumped on the opportunity and literally was able to get several of these cars for $4 to $5 a piece, literally. It was one of those great deals. So I ended up having these cars, but since I was doing this project at the point, when I got these cars, I got the idea, why not do this tag on a boxcar? So I ended up sharing my idea to the guy, and he agreed with me on the idea. So I ended up taking one of my newly acquired boxcars, since I had it on hand, and it'd be kind of fruitless at that point to go and buy a brand new car. So I ended up using one of these, and I was able to redo the tag, and I did all the work to it. I did all the weathering and everything, and it's pretty much done at this point. Now, why I have 2 of them, I'll explain. What ended up happening after I got done with the first car, I was really happy with it. I really liked it. It looked good. I was proud of it. I did all that work to it. The weathering looked great. The tags looked awesome. But it was already paid for, and it was at that point ready to go back to Canada. So I didn't really want to get rid of it at that point because I really, really liked it. I didn't want to get rid of it. So it put me in an awkward position, but looking back on my collection, since I have a whole bunch of these boxcars now, I just decided, well, why not recreate the tag? So that's what I ended up doing, as you can see. And that's why I have two of them, is because I made one for myself and one for the customer. So that's the explanation. Now, there are a few differences between these two, and I'll point them out here in a second, and also kind of give you a little idea of how I did these. Again, these are all real tags, and I don't do any of that fake graffiti stuff. I always use real tags from the real life for my models. So what I did was I took drawings of the real HBAK tag, which there's only one of. I copied it to my computer, shrunk it down to 187 scale, which is HF scale again, and I then proceeded to take this piece of, I think it's index paper is what this is. I'm probably wrong, but I think it's index paper or something that's like grid paper or whatever. And since it's thin though, instead of using like regular like typing or copying paper like this stuff here, which is relatively thicker, I wanted to use a thinner paper, so that's why I use this stuff here. And I taped a piece of paper to my computer screen, and I then traced out, since the computer is a glowing image of the tag, I was able to basically trace all this out onto the piece of paper, and then I was able to do like a paper cutout. I cut out the area for the tag and then added it to the model and then sprayed it on. And that's how I did the backing for it. Now what I did afterwards, I went in and finished it all by hand painting it. And the tag was hand painted, but the only thing I did where I did that with the paper mask was the actual Pepe tag themselves. I did those with that paper mask technique. And I'll show you guys this little template here real quick. This is basically how it looks after you've traced it and cut it out and basically put it on the model. What I did with this is I taped it onto this little corner here. I had to remove this ladder obviously, but I taped it off and there was this nice little mask, so I just went ahead and spray painted it on there and then peeled off the masking and then went ahead and just added the detail with like the outlines and stuff like that. But all the backing is the spray paint, so it worked out really well. And it's not really that hard to do. After you've done it a few times, it really works for the better. And that's what I ended up finding, was that it definitely works the easiest to do it that way for excuse me, for detailed tags like this. Tags like that you can hand paint, but detailed faces and stuff like that, usually you want to use a mask or a template to do that. So that's why I do that. But you know, there are a few subtle differences between my car and the client's. And the one at the bottom is the original. This is the first one I did, and this is accurate to the real tag, as you can see. It's all accurately proportioned and stuff. So you know, I'm not a big fan of the tag itself, but it's still cool enough that it's unique, and I kind of like the image rolling around on my layout. It's still cool enough though. But you know, since I was gonna go ahead and make my own car, I just decided to do it my own version of that tag. So what I did was I modified the original image slightly to my specifications, and this is the end product. And that's why they look slightly different, as you can see. This one's the real one, this one's my version. So in the end, you know, it kind of worked out for the best. But so there they are. This one will be actually shipped out here either Friday or Monday this week, or next week Monday. But other than the tags, of course, I did all the weathering, and I added the couplers. I added the metal wheels too, because when I got these, surprisingly, they were missing the wheels. They had the trucks and everything, but I had to reinstall the wheels. So I got some KD wheel sets for these and installed them. I'll just show you the weathering here real quick, because it is also nice to mention on its own. I did some relatively minor streaking of rust. Boxcars like these don't get too dirty, but it is good to kind of fade them down a little, because the Wisconsin Central boxcars do have a slight bit of age. So I dulled these down a little bit, and then I did all the weathering with a mix of acrylic washes and then some straight dry brushing. The roofs are really nice too, because what I did was I did a base coat of paint weathering, and then I went and blended everything else together with chalk weathering, which is something I don't really normally do, but it was up until recently that I got back into chalk weathering, because there's certain effects that you can do with chalk that you can't do with brush, and that's one of the reasons I got into it. And I'll explain that particular part of it in a little more detail in an upcoming video on chalk weathering, and that'll be out pretty soon too, so keep an eye out for that. But I'll have some more detail on chalk weathering later. But I decided to go ahead and do the chalk weathering effect on this, so it has this really dusty, like fresh rust look to it, which looks really nice. Boxcar roofs are still relatively easy to do, but you can do them still in a really nice amount of detail, and you can see the metal panels are all scraped up. And I just did that with a little sandpaper. I did a once over on each individual panel, and it creates this scratched effect that I've seen on a few boxcar roof panels before. I don't know what causes it, but I've seen this on a few boxcars before, so I thought I would copy it onto these. Now, this is the original car, and I did it slightly heavier on this one, which, I mean, it looks good, but I think it's slightly overly weathered. So since I had the opportunity to make a new one, I kind of went slightly easier on my version. So I only have a few panels rusted out here, as you can see, but basically the same effects. But on these relatively cleaner panels here, what I did was I took some white acrylic and I made a wash and then kind of dulled these down to kind of look like oxidized metal, so it looks really good too. The weathering on this car is really nice as well. So on this side, it does have a few tags also, and I did the safety stripes. I did renumber this one because I already had a 1015 in my roster currently, so I ended up renumbering both of them. This one's a new 1015. I just did the new black patches, and then I had some decals laying around that I used for the new numbers. I still got to decal the end numbers here though, so I got to patch that out and redo those, but that's the only thing. So overall, the car looks really nice. I'm really happy with it. The client's really happy with his car too, so again, in the end, it actually did work out for the better. So I just thought it would be kind of cool to show you guys these. So again, I'll have some more videos coming out soon. I'll be sure to show you guys some chalk weathering effects too. But so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll have some more stuff coming soon. Take care.